my calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
They're here.
Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
It's showtime.
Right, welcome everybody to another episode of the VHS Strikes Back. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Phelps. My co-host and very good friend is Mr. Dave Horrocks.
Hi Chris, and hello to our listeners out there. Welcome to the VHS Strikes Back, the show where we dust off the old video player and go on a nostalgic journey to look at the good and the bad movies of yesteryear. Now Chris, obviously this is the week after we did our Halloween episode, so we did a bit of Texas Chainsaw Massacre last week, and this week we've got another shocker.
Yeah, it is a massacre of acting, Dave, and martial arts.
So what are we going to review this
We're
week?
going with the 1992, and it's critically acclaimed, Dave. It got Oscar nominations and everything, to be fair. It's Steven Seagal's only fresh movie on Rotten Tomatoes, Under Siege, Dave. So, what do you remember about this one, Dave?
Well, I was poking a little bit of fun there. So I've said many times across all the different episodes, I'm sure, that I just don't rate Seagal at all. However, this was the first movie I'd watched of Seagal's, and I remember quite enjoying it. But I remember thinking, when does the martial arts happen? You know? So he's supposed to be this new up and coming action hero, wasn't he? And it just never sat right with me. You know, there are two people that don't sit right with me in that martial arts action hero space: Steven Seagal and Cynthia Rothrock. I just don't get them. Just don't get them at
It's
all.
on the list, Dave. Don't you worry.
I
China
know.
O'Brien's
You fucking-
sneaking up
you-
on you.
You haven't sent me some in a while, have you? But you've been periodically sending me stuff. Oh, we're going to pick this one next.
China O'Brien's fucking legendary, Dave.
Yeah, I think that was the first one I saw of hers.
And the
But
last.
again, I just yeah. Well, no, she was in No Retreat, No Surrender too, wasn't
Yeah,
she?
yeah, with Lauren. Good old Lauren.
Yeah, but I just don't get either of them. I mean, at least Cynthia Rothrock though, she's kind of flexible and gymnastic, but I just don't ever believe any of that shit would work in a fight. But yeah, even as a kid, you know, bearing in mind I'd grown up on all the Hong Kong stuff, which you refer to as dancing, but you know, again, it looks good on the screen, and I never got what the thing was with Seagal, but I was really interested to go back to watch this one. So I'd watched it about 93-ish, you know, when it came out at the video shop. You know, it was the new action film that people were talking about. And like I say, you know, quite enjoyed it without necessarily loving it. I certainly didn't get what the whole thing with Seagal was. But I think that was probably the height. That was probably the peak, Chris, of where I thought Seagal was this action hero, and it was all downhill from there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Dave. I think I didn't mind Nico. That was like his breakthrough thing, a movie, and Hard to Kill. I don't know if that's the same film. I remember seeing them, and you always were the ones in the video shop that were there. And this, to be fair, Under Siege, Dave, as a sort of iconic VHS sleeve, I've seen, you know, you'd see that all the time in the video shop, wouldn't you? It was one of them movies you either love Seagal or not. I am with you. I've never rated him. I was a Van Damme guy, me, completely. Love Van Damme, Stallone. Absolutely, you know, I just didn't get him as, and I've seen some of his later films, and I'm like, oh fucking hell, you know, like it's the same script every time, but obviously he's got bigger and bigger, and it's less believable the size of him now, and he's got fucking Fu Manchu fucking haircut. His hair's ended up growing as he's got older. He had a receding hairline in Nico, and he's got even in this, he's got a fucking Irish jig on, Dave. But fuck me, it's just. And it's not about muscles and that. No, you know, anyone who says that, you know, we fight, you know, whatever, it isn't about muscles. And I'm not going to go on a rant about fighting. I'm some expert. I'm not. But it's just aesthetically in a movie, he just doesn't look right. And what's always weird about Seagal movies is, Dave, he's fucking massive. He's about 6'5". But everyone in the movies are always like midgets. Like when we did the Shaq thing the other week, Steel on Comics in Motion. and Shaq's 7 foot. And he's fucking the guys against him, his enemies, are like not even 6 foot, and it just looks
Yeah.
ridiculous continuity wise. And that's one of the issues because I know he plays rough, Seagal, and a lot of people have said that he is, and you can clearly see in some of these scenes. Aikido is a waste of fucking time, Dave. It doesn't do anything. Them demonstrations I've seen him do for years. He's the only non-Japanese guy to ever get an Aikido black belt and to run a dojo in Japan. Fucking bullshit. It's just a stunt choreography dojo. That's all it is. It's not real fighting. You're supposed to use their weight against you. You would never do that in a real fight. I'm with you. Seagal is an absolute fucking myth. And you put me onto a podcast about him, didn't you? Like the Steven Siegal stuff. My God, Dave. Unbelievable.
He's like Frank Duke's level of fucking
Oh
bullshitter, isn't
my
he?
God. And I felt awkward watching this when he kisses Erica Leniak at the end. Fuck me. Jimmy Savile's not even close to this fucker, Dave. Jesus Christ. But it just doesn't. He's never grabbed me. However, this is his biggest critically acclaimed film, and I know there's plenty of our good friends who are listening to this are going to absolutely go for me and you, Dave, because they love it. But
Yeah.
it's just a rip-off of Die Hard, really, isn't it? That's all it is. But and that's one of the taglines, basically. Die Hard on a boat, basically. But yeah, fucking unbelievable. He's an enigma.
I think he's almost. You remember when we did Missing in Action? I think we did the second one first,
Yeah.
actually, didn't we? Did Missing in Action 2. I guess chronologically that's the right order. But I was saying then, I'm like, the whole Chuck Norris thing, is that. Do people love him as an ironic thing? Or what? And I don't get if it's the same with Seagal. Because, like you say, it just looks shit. And I remember seeing an interview with Joe Rogan, and he's saying about, look, Seagal did, he was the first Westerner to get a black belt in Aikido, and he studied under such and such a body. That podcast, Behind the Bastards, I mean, the clue is in the title about what they think of him.
It's a
But,
brilliant podcast.
they were saying that the person that he's supposed to have studied under had died something like 5 years before he went to Japan. So, straight away you're like, that's a bit odd, isn't it? But you see some of the old black and white footage, and you've got people running to attack him. And then they're like gymnasts. They just sort of jump over and do a little roly poly. It's like, wee, wah, It's like,
You do?
he's not actually fucking. He's not touching them,
No.
or barely touching them. Like you say, they're already going down. They're like they make fucking Premier League footballers look like they try and stay on their feet, don't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's just I just don't buy any of it at all. Now, it's funny you say about the height because I'd never really noticed that before. But on this rewatch now, I noticed like fucking hell, he's tall, isn't he? So I can imagine, if you're in a room with him, he'd be quite intimidating. But he's got no fucking muscles, like you say. And so, like you say, if it was in a ring, if it was in a real fight, look at fucking Tony Bellew or
Yes.
Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
You don't need the fucking massive muscles. It's not about that. But it's not a fucking actual fight, is it?
No, it's a film.
It's on the screen. And so I just... Yeah, just everything about Seagal. I don't get it, Chris. Other than he is just a world class bullshitter.
Sounds like me, Dave, doesn't he?
No, he makes your bullshit. You are the Padawan. He is the Jedi.
Well, yeah.
He's worked with fucking. He's worked for the CIA. He's done all
Yeah,
these fucking things.
He's a cop in his marshal or whatever he is in his spare time and all that bullshit.
He just fucking blues. Blues is in his blood.
Dave, let's talk about that now. He's got a Russian citizenship, and he's big friends with Vladimir Putin and everything. Like, supposed to be giving him inside information. How he's blagged himself in Russia, I don't know. But yeah, me and Dave went through this thing where he did that song Strut, and you kept playing it everywhere, didn't you? You put it over all sorts of different things that we did, and
I might put it on now in post-production.
Put Strut on in the background as we're talking. And you go on, and me and you went on this YouTube backwards and forwards where I just kept finding him playing the guitar, and you did, and people underneath going, and there's a bit where there's a guy playing lead. Now, Dave, you know who I'm talking about in our band. There was a guy who wasn't the lead guitarist, But when we did a couple of videos, we'd play up to the videos like he was Jimi Hendrix, and he's just going G C D A, G C D A through a whole song. But he would play up to the camera if someone was filming us like he was fucking like a Led Zeppelin or something. So he's doing the same here. He's like playing like he's supposed to be playing guitar, but he's playing slap bass at times. You're like, what are you doing? But it's hilarious that some people are buying into his shit. But then there is times where he is playing lead and he is doing a little bit. He isn't incompetent, but his music is about as good as his fucking movies. Jesus Christ.
I think so. I think with his lead guitar playing, it's one of these. If I guess if people don't play much, then he seems to be quite good. But the thing is, Chris, you go around to any open mic night, you go around to any jam night at a local pub. Obviously, pandemic aside, so they're all there aren't many going on now. But typically, you could go to anywhere. You'll get these generic kind of blues guitarist players, and all it is, they learn to play the blues. I mean, it's all three chords basically. So you can just learn your scales, learn a few techniques, and just practice, 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 and then away you go. So that's what he came across to me is just this generic kind of blues player that's not particularly good. You could see the rest of the band were really good around him. But yeah, I can't remember what the quote was now, but he was saying about blues being in his blood and all this stuff, and it's like, oh fuck me. But Chris, this so-called guy who's got blues in his blood and stuff, I mean, that's offensive enough on its own, isn't it? But the fucking that strut, some of the lyrics, and I tell you what, it's not just the lyrics, it's the accent, it's the Jamaican accent that he sings while he's doing it. And it just reminds me of David Brent, when he did Equality Street.
He's doing that accent.
And in the film Life on the Road, he's got like his young kind of black up and coming rapper star, hasn't he?
Oh my God.
And he's saying to him, look, man, don't do the voice. Don't do the voice. And then he gets to the bit and he's like, Billy, 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 Billy Bob. It's like, fucking hell. Oh. So, yeah, for me, it's just like that. It's just like that.
Just like that. Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah.
It's just so bad. I'm trying to find the lyrics because it's just so. I mean, it's all about wanting. Oh, here we go. So me want the punani. See for make nice. She want the buddy. Him want the punani.
Yeah.
And where is it? It's something about the ocean. Oh, that's it. Let's have a shot of rum. Then I can make you come with me to the ocean. And then he's going on
Disney
about
film, doesn't it?
he's going on about bring you to your knees. We're jamming.
Oh no! Do you ever remember, Dave? This actually, I'm going to call myself out for this. Do you remember when we used to do a gig?
Oh, I know what
you know
I know
what
what you're going to say, and it's not going to come off.
No,
well.
it's not. We used to do jamming in the band, didn't we? And I'm not necessarily saying it was my choice or your choice, but as the singer,
No, I have to say, Chris, I'm just going to put it right out there. This was before I joined
was
the band,
it?
but this was one of the stories that went around.
I am from Old Trafford, proper multicultural, multiracial part of Manchester. I grew up with all sorts of different races and everything, and some of my best friends are mixed race, black, Asian. So I've got a lot of friends like that, Dave. And we did jamming, Dave, and I used to go to a lot of open mic stuff. And we'd go in the middle of Moss Side and we'd do that, and it was great. And you get all these different guys, like session musicians, guys on the saxophone. You get all sorts of. And he was a blind drummer who was phenomenal. He was like a session musician, his drummer. It's phenomenal, Dave. And one of the gigs said, let's do jamming, no problem. So Chris here starts singing, Dave, almost in Siegal-like voice. A Jamaican guy gets up, Dave, comes up to me, and he wants to kick the shit out of me, Dave. Now, he was about the same height as me, but I think he probably could have took me down, Dave. And I'm like, I don't think we should ever do this song ever again. And it was purely done because we liked the song. But we never played it again after that live, Dave, anyway, because I thought, holy fuck. And this was about, it must have been 16, 17 years ago. Yeah, he never saw light of day outside the rehearsal room after that. It was fucking horrendous.
I mean, that is fucking horrendous,
It
isn't it?
is. It's not good. I didn't do the
If
full
only
act,
there was a
but
video
fuck you. Yeah, I would have got fucking
of you
battered.
trying to do the fucking Jamaican
I
accent.
know I wasn't doing the Jamaican accent, but as you sing, you know, like, I hope you like jam into, and then it's just like a little twang may have come in there now and again, Dave. And he was so offended. He come in front of us and was like, oh no, we're gonna get fucking in a brawl here or something. So yeah, we politely apologized and never did it ever again.
Yeah, these fucking privileged guys, and yeah.
Anyway,
It could have been worse. You could have been doing like the fucking redemption song or something like that, and just really fucking misfiring completely.
Song as well, the redemption song, but yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant,
love it.
but I mean, you know what it's all
It's
about.
nothing
and
to
everything.
I should be nowhere near singing that fucking song, Dave. Did you see that the other day? This is bad, but there was a thing on boxing. This is completely off the subject, but BT Sport about Black Lives Matter. And David Hay is sat next to the presenter. Did you see that?
Oh, fuck me. I think oh, Chris, that was Alan Partridge. You couldn't have fucking scripted that any better. So go on, if people haven't seen it.
So the presenter's there talking. He's a guy who used to be on Sky, Paul Dempsey, and he's talking about Black Lives Matter and some great black boxers and stuff over the years. And we're going to talk about the history of where it all came into, like black guys being able to fight and everything, and you know, like the oppression that comes with it. So David Hayes sat next to him, who was a black heavyweight world champion, Dave, one of the best over the last 10, 15 years.
Yep.
He sat right next to Paul Dempsey, who's a white guy. They then passing it up, and he actually says these words. You've got to seek it out on YouTube. It's unbelievable. He goes, so we thought the best man to speak to about this and talk about all the greatest black fighters over the years is Steve Bunce, a fucking white guy, Dave. And I'm like, holy shit. And BT have just been absolutely slaughtered for that, and quite rightly. And David Hayes sat there like, what the hell am I doing here? You know, like, what have they done? It's awful, Dave. And what the reason behind it was because he's a historian of boxing, but it certainly wasn't the right guy to use, Dave. My God.
I think, you know, though, I genuinely, Chris, I don't think you could have scripted it. If this was Ricky Gervais trying to script it for comedy value,
Yes.
he couldn't have scripted it and timed it any better, because it's like you say, it's the way they're sat there in the studio. You got David Hay there, and and I think his actual words, Chris, were, and who better to talk to us about Black Lives Matter? And it cuts to this middle-aged white guy, and you're like,
Dave,
oh, fuck me.
It's so wrong. It is a sketch out the office. Like when David Brent's talking to that Asian guy, and he goes, "Oh, that's racist." You know what he's like?
Racist.
It's like, what? You would be fucking racist. You know what I mean? But yeah. Anyway, completely.
He says, doesn't he? He says the other one.
Yeah.
And he's like, what do you mean the other one? And he's like, he says the word, doesn't he? He's like, ooh, racist.
Yeah. So fucking wrong. But anyway, sorry, Dave. The Seagals took us down a completely different tangent, so I think we better get into our trailer.
Let's go.
It was the final voyage of America's mightiest battleship.
What's on this helicopter?
This little sweetheart.
Miss July 89.
God, I love this business. I love you.
The party was wild.
Love you to death.
They really knocked them dead. Imagine this arsenal of tactical nuclear weapons falling into the wrong hands. The Pentagon never did.
4 minutes ahead of schedule. Damn, I'm good.
Now, a team of terrorists have taken over.
Wake up the president.
But there's just one thing they didn't count on. The cook.
Are you like some special forces guy or something?
No, I'm just a cook.
Oh my God, we're gonna die.
This is not the work of a cook.
I want you to coordinate your efforts with us.
Yes, sir.
I see that you completely disobeyed my orders.
Roger that.
Ryback is an ex-SEAL.
Expert in martial arts.
explosives, weapons and tactics.
I also cook.
The Nimitz is tracking 2 Tomahawks just launched from the Missouri.
Where are they headed?
Honolulu.
Happy trails.
Steven Siegal.
I know you, don't I?
Tommy Lee Jones.
Been a long time.
I'll see you in hell, son boy!
Under Siege.
Now we start off, we're on the battleship USS Missouri, and it arrives in Pearl Harbor, where President George W. Bush, the first one, announces that the ship will be decommissioned in California. Casey Ryback, a chief petty officer assigned as a cook, prepares the meals in celebration for the birthday of the commanding officer, Captain Adams. Against the orders of Executive Officer Krill, who is having food and entertainment brought by the helicopter, Krill provokes a brawl with Rayback, and he's locked up in the whatever it is,
The mess.
fridge.
Yeah, fridge.
Now, Chris, what do you make to the opening of this one?
Right. I watched this, Dave, on the plane on the way home from Greece last week, right? We decided what we're going to do. It's on Amazon Prime, guys. So if you've got Amazon Prime, get on there. And I downloaded it. I thought, you know what? I'm really, really looking forward to this. It's an old 90s action movie. I know I'm not a big fan of Seagal, but I know it gets good reviews and it has a great reception rate on all the big, reviewing sites. So I'm thinking, you know what? Take all my Seagal bias away. That he's an absolute weirdo, and he should be probably doing a 10 stretch by now, Dave. But I was thinking, right, let me watch it for what it is. And I knew it had been nominated for a couple of Oscars and stuff. And Harrison Ford even took the director of this, Dave, on when he did The Fugitive. He watched a rough cut of this movie and went straight to the director and said, I need you to do that, Andrew Davis. So you're thinking, you know what? He's got a good bit of pedigree to it. I'm telling you now, Dave, Seagal is as fucking wooden as my table that I've got my arm on right now. But I tell you who I think is horrendous. Tommy Lee Jones, and I'm going on record here, Tommy Lee Jones is one of the worst actors ever, and so is Gary Busey. Now, I know Gary Busey, at this point in his life, had had a serious accident, because after Lethal Weapon, he had the bike accident, and he was really out of kilter for a few years, so he wasn't the same person. There was that big reality show on him for years, wanted about, which really was sort of poking fun at the fact that he had brain damage. So I can forgive him, but I tell you what, I think Tommy Lee Jones is even worse than this, than he was in the fucking when he was Two-Face in Batman. He's fucking rubbish, Dave. And honestly, Krill, Gary Busey, I will forgive him at points, but my God, all three of them together are some of the worst acting I have seen. And I know people wank themselves silly over Tommy Lee Jones, but I hate him as an actor. I think he's shit. No Country for Old Men, he's terrible in. He just fucking mumbles along. I just think, and he was garbage in The Fugitive as well. I hate him, Dave. And honestly, all three of them watching this are just fucking shit.
Coming in hot.
Is it anything other, David?
Well, I mean, at least we can spread the love. It's not all aimed at Seagal, is it?
No.
Now, what I'll say, I'm going to tackle them one at a time. So I could remember very little about this. And given a certain scene a bit later, I have no idea why that is, because I think in about 92, 93, this would have been right in my wheelhouse, as they say.
Yep.
So now, Seagal, I actually don't think he's that bad in this, right? He's wooden. It annoys me how he's got this, again, because I can't believe that's his real voice, but he's like talking like this, like, he's trying to put on this voice, like it doesn't seem like a real voice, Chris. And like, hey, get my pies out of the oven. It's like, it just sounds a bit odd, but I don't think he's terrible. I still maintain that throughout the film, I'm still waiting, Chris, all these years later, for the martial arts to happen. He does some knife work in it, which just looks weird. But I don't really see a lot of martial arts in it. Gary Busey, as soon as he fucking comes on the screen, I'm like, yep, he's the bad guy.
Yep, straight away. He's not Mr. Joshua in this though, Dave, like Lethal Weapon. He's terrible.
Yeah. But I hadn't remembered that he was in this at all. I don't think he was terrible. I think he was he's one of those actors, isn't he? It's Gary Busey. That's what you're going to get from him. Tommy Lee Jones, though, you know what? You've stolen my thunder a bit, because fucking Two-Face out of Batman Forever is exactly who I thought he was playing. And even when he comes on and he's looking like something like fucking off the Rolling Stones, and he looks terribly awkward. Again, I'm thinking clearly he's not part of the band because he just looks shit and out of place and awkward in everything that he does. But even then, when the cover's blown, and it's obvious they're basically trying to take over the ship and what have you, he goes into that two-dimensional fucking comic book villain. And I thought exactly the same. I'm thinking, is this like what's his name from fucking Hawk the Slayer?
Don't
The
ask me,
fucking
Dave.
the fucking Jack Palance.
Oh, his brother. His
Do,
brother
do,
who's yeah.
no, but do you remember Jack Palance? And I was
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
how is this fucker even famous?
Yeah.
For acting. And I found myself wondering the same thing about Tommy Lee Jones. Now, what I will say is, I think he's all right in Men in Black, but he's playing a very kind of stoic character there, isn't he? Cards very close to his chest, and he's basically there just for Will Smith to play off.
Yeah.
So I think he's all right in that. But I was scratching my head and I was thinking back and I was thinking, fuck, have I actually seen him in anything that's good? And this, I'm completely with you on this one, Chris. Tommy Lee Jones in this movie is fucking terrible.
Oh, he's wank, Dave. And I think when you watch it, I mean, he does a good job of making Seagal look better, Dave. Because, like
Yeah.
you say, Seagal's just playing fucking Don Corleone pretty much, and I make him an offer he can refuse. I mean, that went to Christian Bale then, Dave, didn't it? That's my repertoire of it.
Because I'm Seagal.
It's when anything, but everything. Anyway, we're not going down that, Dave. I have to throw it in there every week. But no, you are right. Seagal is not terrible. However, I only remember this movie for one bit and one person, Dave, Erica Laniak, because she was the precursor to Pamela Anderson, Dave. And I'm telling you now, I think I've only seen this maybe once or twice, but I definitely have the VHS stuck at that moment when she jumps out the cake. Outstanding. But what I would say is there's a few disgusting bits, obviously, when Krill he gobs in, Seagal. That's what kicks the fight off,
Oh,
doesn't it? He
yeah.
gobs in and it's minging. But what's funny is, Dave, Seagal's there supposed to be like this great guy, as if they would let this absolutely 1% mercenary marine, fucking absolute head the
Navy
ball,
SEAL.
become a fucking chef. And what makes me laugh is there's a bit where he's stirring some food, Dave. It looks like he's fucking put a load of old socks in there. It's like dishwater. And he's like, oh, this is lovely. And I was like, oh, wow, that smells lovely, that Ryback. And they're all having a crack with him doing dancing and stuff. And it's just like, this is wank. And then he's doing that little bit of a rebel, and he goes to see the captain. He's like, hey, I'm not wearing my whites today. And like, the president's coming. And he's like, no, I'm not wearing them. I don't, we'll get down there and we don't let him see you till after the ceremony and stuff. And it's just, the plot, Dave, is fucking really thin on this. The fact that they allow a helicopter, an Apache helicopter, to come on board for his birthday, while this Missouri's being decommissioned, but it's fully loaded with planes, fucking missiles, nuclear warheads, everything. I mean, they would always do that, wouldn't they, if they're going to go and put it into the great graveyard that they do with these ships. Honestly, I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's absolutely horrendous, but there's so many things together that I just hated it. I was like, oh, this is fucking rubbish. And the praise it gets off people, I genuinely don't see it. I really don't. And some of the guys he's fighting against, they're terrible, Dave, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah.
the knife thing he does when he gets out of the cooler thing, when them two mercenaries come down, I'm like, oh, fucking hell. He's just, yeah, I don't know what more. I'm sorry to keep talking, Dave, but it was just one of the movies where you're like, I don't get the hype behind this at all.
I don't think it was terrible. I think this comes across a bit like a canon film to me. It's like you can't think too deeply about any of the storyline at all because it doesn't make sense. It just all kind of breaks down there, people's motivations and everything. I think the private that they had guarding him when he was locked up in the cooler. Well, for a start, do they have privates in the Navy? I thought that was an army thing.
I don't know.
I genuinely don't think they do. So, it's like, it's just stupid little things like that. But, and it's like when he's ringing up and he's like, I, I thought I heard, I thought I heard gunshots. No, 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 it's fireworks, son, fireworks. Oh, yeah. See, Seagal, it was fireworks. And it's like, oh, fuck off. It was just so forced. But, he does kind of get out there. And like I say, for me, it's a bit, some of the action's okay, when he kind of breaks out. But like I say, I don't see any martial arts to it. But, one of your favourites, Chris, old John McClane, he's an action hero, isn't he? Old Bruce Willis there, even if he is a complete douchebag. But he doesn't do any martial arts or anything. So
No.
I can kind of, I guess I was trying to separate out the fact that he's supposedly this martial arts action hero, and he's clearly not. So just take him on face value that he is an action hero, just with a bit of a dad bod.
Yeah, but John McClane, you can give him that. I think you're right, and what I think is one of the worst things about this movie is, much as Erika Laniak's got two wonderful assets, Dave, for this movie. I'm sorry, but 13-year-old Chris, I would have been at this point when this come out, would have absolutely loved her, especially with fucking bad shoulder. But genuinely, she gets on the ship. She's with Tommy Lee Jones, the band there. Like I said, they take it all over. I know we're skipping a little bit, but it's when she takes these tablets, right? So there's been these mass killings of a load of the sailors. All the sailors, Dave, for some reason, the ship's just floating in the middle of the Atlantic or wherever they are. They're all down there. But it's almost like, Dave, I tell you, it's like the Dark Knight Returns. Rises,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah,
Is it
yeah.
Dark Knight Rises? Yeah.
Rises, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Returns is the comic book.
The cover, sorry, yeah, right. I should know that. It's my favourite one of the three. And every single police officer goes down the fucking drain, don't they? Literally, to get Bane. This is exactly the same. And I know there's a couple resist and they get shot and stuff, and I get all that. But it's the fact that Erika Laniak goes from this. She doesn't hear any gunfire. Seagal kicks the cake. She jumps out of her boobs out. She's not realised that, all the time.
I don't think she jumps out, does she? I can see it in my mind's eye now, Chris.
That you can. Right,
She
yeah.
sort of sensually kind of gets up and then kind of takes the jacket apart a little bit. And I'm like, fucking hell, Dave, why don't I remember this?
Yeah.
I was, you know what? I was probably watching it with my mum and dad, like you said with American Pie. It's like, fuck off up to bed for a bit, will
Let
you?
me rewind it. Let me rewind this bit over and over. But no, I think you're right. But she does jump out, right? She's there, boobs out, everything. But it's when Seagal gives a little bit of shit, and then he starts telling her how to use an MP5. And he's like, right, you need to do this, you need to clock this and load it like this. And she's going, yeah. And I'm thinking, she's a fucking Playboy model who has never had any arm training. And you're telling her how to do this gun. And I'm thinking, and that's obviously an innuendo for later on. Not an innuendo, an idea that she's going to come up trumps at some point with a fucking absolutely perfect sniper-like shot on somebody in the movie. It was so obvious what was going to happen. And I think I've only seen this once before, Dave. I think I've watched it around about the same time as you and never watched it since. So it was quite fresh watching it again. But that whole buddy up, because Seagal had even said he didn't want to, he turned the role down because he said, I quote, he said the role of the character, he had problems with her character because she was a bimbo who jumping out of a cake and then gets paired up with me. But then he said, Dave, listen to this. He said, who gradually revealed her intelligence. So he took the role. Fuck off. He definitely put in his rider that he wanted to snog her, Dave. I'm telling you. Oh, it's just, and you're right. It's the whole thing of Seagal in his wife beater vest running around this ship. And there's loads, we talked about Scream. We did Scream 3 the other week about Ghostface, and he rolls under the car after hit him, and they're all there talking, and Gail and him are kissing and that. But Ghostface could be anywhere because he is somebody who jumps out on people from nowhere. Seagal, there's loads of bits in this where Seagal's measuring his cock because he's done good at some point, and they're like, walking on top of the ship like there's no baddies there. Because
Yeah.
at one point he goes, there's 30 baddies. He must kill about 30 baddies in the space of about 10 minutes, Dave, when he goes on a run at the start. And I'm counting him on purpose, going, there's more than 30 on here, fucking Ryback. You've well blacked him. So I don't know. I know I've gone on a bit of a tangent there, but the believability of this happening, like you say, as a spectacle, as an action movie, no problem. It's an hour and 40 minutes. Get it on. It's watchable. But just the whole idea that Siegal can carry a movie for me just doesn't wash.
No, but I think because they kind of use him sparingly, and because you've got the hamminess of Tommy Lee Jones, chewing up scenery like there's fucking like he's never been fed. I think
Pretty good, that.
I think I think it gives Seagal a little bit of room to get away with it, to be quite honest. Because I don't think he's the most terrible thing on the screen, which is a low bar, to be fair, from your lead man. But I guess with my mindset, I was going in expecting this to be, pretty horrendous Seagal stuff. Even though, like I say, I remember it not being that bad when I watched it the first time. But yeah, in terms of believability, like you say, what was it, Jordan Tate, Erica Eleniak's character.
Yeah.
The fact that she just fucking, she becomes a Navy SEAL basically, doesn't she? I mean, she after a little bit, because even when they're kind of, trying to get on the sub and stuff, she's there all dressed in the black and stuff. She's going out on operations, and it's like, hang about, no, escaping with your life. That should be your goal, right?
Yeah. Get out of there.
You don't go on the offensive like you've had fucking 10 years of army training or marine training. And so yeah, that was just absolute fucking nonsense, wasn't it? But it was an excuse to keep her on screen a little bit more. And like yourself, was an avid watcher of Baywatch when she was in it. So there were no complaints from me on that front.
No, not at all. And Dave, just out of interest, if you do want to go back and stroke that young adolescent Dave's ego,
I wondered where you were going.
Yeah, well, you can stroke the other. Baywatch is actually on Amazon Prime now, the whole run. I did see it the other week, so
you know what, Chris? I you remember? I'm sure I've told the story many times. That first like proper girlfriend that I had when I was kind of from about the age of 18 to about 22, but she was a little bit possessive and a bit mad. Yeah. Well, I remember going round to my mates and bunch of lads around, few beers, had Baywatch on, but she hated anything like that, right? Like a fucking numpty. I went round. I was round with my mates, and then I went back to the flat. I only starts unconsciously humming the fucking theme tune, don't I? And it's like, oh, fucking hell, here we go. Another argument. You've been watching Baywatch, haven't you? It's just fucking, it's like tea time stuff. It's not like I've been fucking out beating one off to porn. It's, oh, God.
Yeah.
Kids, don't put up with it.
No, don't put it with Dave. It's just as well, because if you remember, the actual double bubble, I need to close my bedroom door, and obviously being in a house at the time of 7
Jet
or 8
from Gladiators.
People, you had Jet from Gladiators first. Oh, God. They all doom, 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 and then you've got Baywatch. I think Baywatch might have been first, then it was Gladiators, Dave. Yeah. Oh, my God. When Jet was on them fucking rings, oh, dear me. I used to love her thighs. Her legs were just outstanding. Well, I loved everything else about her, but outstanding, Dave.
Proper Alan Partridge.
Okay, now, yeah, he had Jet, didn't he? Jet. He had a picture of it next to his bed. But yeah, fucking unbelievable. But no, so getting back to that, and what I found funny was when there's a bit in the film when he gets a little bit of a crew together, this guy's the old guy goes, yeah, 44 or 46, I'm some fucking gunner from the Navy and stuff, that old bloke. And you've got the other ones. Erica Laniak ends up with a proper, I don't think it's an MP5. She ends up with I'm a big like gamer, so I play a lot of Call of Duty and Battlefield and stuff like that. I think she's got an assault rifle. So I don't think she's not got a machine gun. She's got an assault rifle, something like an AR or whatever. The guys who are actually trained are shooting people from 60, 70 yards with a fucking Uzi, Dave. Now, an Uzi, and you know this, is for close quarter fighting, but they're shooting these guys from different areas of the ship like fucking from about they're shooting him with these little shitty Uzis, and these guys are going down, and like this does not look believable. However, Dave, my favorite bit of the movie. Now, put your mind back, Dave. It's not on the VHS Strikes Back. It's on Comics in Motion. We reviewed the 1966 Batman, Dave, didn't we? And the Penguin stole a U-boat, and in the space of 4 days of buying it, he didn't steal it, he bought it. In the space of about 4 days, for continuity within this movie, he redesigned it with a full penguin outfit on, didn't he? Even the periscope had a penguin thing and everything. The U-boat in this by the Russians, Dave, is the smallest submarine I have ever seen. I don't know if you picked up on it, but I'm thinking submarines are fucking huge. And they're in some 1942 submarine from like World War II with these fake, horrendous baddies. It was just, my God, I was watching it like, what is this?
It was pretty obvious they were in a swimming pool a lot of the time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But
It
again,
was tiny.
I kind of can go with that if it's a Canon film, Chris. But this
Yes.
cost $35 million. Who the fuck spends $35 million and casts Steven Seagal as your lead man? Fucking hell, all these chips have come in there.
You know what though, Dave? You say that, and you're right. It made 156 million just at the box office, and I know this was a big rental movie when it come out. A lot of people, my friends, used to rave about Seagal. But yeah, you're right, Dave. I don't know where it went on the budget. Some of the stuff was just outstanding. Like what, and you know what? You look at the rating. It's got an A grade rating on the Cine Score, Dave. It's an A. That's like fucking Endgame sort of thing, Infinity War. I know totally different movies, but you're like, this is not one of them.
On which one's that?
Cinema Score, which is the cinema
Oh,
goer.
right, okay.
It's an A, Dave.
Because it's got a 6.5 on IMDb. So
79 Rotten Tomatoes, yeah.
So what's the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes?
-3. I don't know.
Hold on, got it. So here we go. So fucking hell, 79% on Rotten Tomatoes for the critic score, and that's from 29 reviews. But then the audience score is 62%, and that's from almost 64,000.
That's not bad,
62% is roughly where I'd put it. I think 79% from critics.
It's unbelievable. You know what though, Dave? I've read loads of reviews, and and he says it on Wiki as well. But I have read loads where they say that Tommy Lee Jones and Gary Busey were outstanding as the baddies. Are you on fucking drugs or what? The fucking shit. They're like something you'd see in a pantomime. Oh no, he didn't. Oh yes, he did. It's like in Punch and Judy shit. The terror. When Gary Busey puts before the boat, he's got that. He's dressed up as a woman, Dave. What is going on there?
Fuck me. That just. That was the most bizarre thing because he's like this hard ass officer, isn't he? And then just suddenly he acts like a complete fucking bellend in drag, and it's what the fuck?
It was out of context for the whole movie. That didn't make any sense. But I mean, you're right. As it goes on, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen. It's not, and there is some good bits in it. I will give it credit. I know I've shit on it a bit because of them three, but I think there is some good things and good ideas, and there's a lot of stock footage used, and the whole nuclear warhead thing's great. And I do sort of appreciate the A-team team up at the end with the old gunner and all that, to get the warheads going, and they've got to take them out, haven't they? And that's why I can believe that, and I can believe like the Pentagon are there, aren't they? And they're like, got to ring the president because they're around this table, and Tommy Lee Jones has been able to ride and do all these test experiments, and they've just pissed him off, so he's just basically gone. And just gone and rogue. But what's even weirder is Seagal and him know each other, don't they? Ryback and him know each other, which they don't really say why they know each other in the final showdown. He just says to him, doesn't he, Ryback? He goes, I know you. And you're thinking, well, tell us where the fuck do you know him from? And he doesn't say anything. And you're like, well, give me a bit of something so I know who. Because Tommy Lee Jones says Ryback, and he doesn't put the two together, does he really, until they get his sheet and they're like, oh my God, he's like this absolute killer and stuff. Just John McClane, basically.
Yeah, but I don't label or lay all of the problems with this movie at Seagal's feet.
No,
I think
no.
it's because Tommy Lee Jones is so offensively bad. He has really pissed me off in watching this at just how bad he is. You compare it. So one of your favourites, Die Hard. You got fucking Hans Gruber there,
Class.
played
Yeah.
by Alan Rickman. He's cool, calm, collected. He's a man with a fucking plan. Tommy Lee Jones, he can't do all of this on his own. He needs people to follow him. He needs people to buy into what he's doing so that he can achieve his goals. Who in their right mind is going to follow this fucking giggling Batman villain? I just I think th- his performance ruins this movie. If you swap, Alan Rickman in for him, I think this is twice the movie that it was.
Yeah, we always say it, don't we, Dave? A good baddie makes the film because you've got to have someone who is equal or stronger or has got something more than the main, the good guy because they've had to, or good guy, good girl, they've had to basically go above and beyond and find that inner intentional fortitude, haven't they? And just really go above it and dig deep to try and beat them and that. Whereas with these guys, I never felt that Seagal was in any danger. I mean, come on, Dave. We did, what was it called? Conan the Barbarian.
Mhm.
Arnie learned how to, sword fight. He had proper training, wielding them swords. You can see when you watch it, he's struggling. Even Arnie, who was an absolute premium bodybuilder, he ended up competing in 1980 or 81 because of the shape he got in for Conan. He ended up winning Mr. Olympia again. But he was in an absolute physical peak. He was a power lifter and he couldn't lift that sword. We get the shittest. They've got like 5-inch blades, him and Tommy Lee Jones, and they're having a fucking D'Artagnan fucking sword fight
That's
like the
weird,
fencing. It's
isn't it?
terrible, that at the end. That is terrible.
I forgot about that. Fucking hell, it was shit, wasn't it? Oh my god. It's
But
like fucking Swiss Army knife sort of
yeah.
fight off.
That's not a knife. It's like it fucking is. That's all we've got, mate. A fucking 5-inch, and they're like touching swords, like it's like Highlander, Dave. Highlander's the perfect example. And absolutely, whatever you think of the film, Highlander, the sword fighting in Highlander is pretty good in it at
Yeah.
times. I know
Yeah,
we've got
yeah.
Mr. Old bloke doing backflips in the carpet, which is sensational for all the wrong reasons. I'm sorry, Max, because I know you're tuning, you love that movie, but that has got proper sword fighting. And the way Seagal and Tommy Lee Jones are going at it, you'd think they had proper katana swords, Dave. Like, fucking 2-3 foot long swords. And the fighting for these have got fucking penknives. They'd be lucky to fucking stab a potato with it, but they're making the noises like they've really touched iron together because these like advanced mercenaries. It's really bad at the end. That bit is terrible. I know it's good when he gets Tommy Lee Jones and it's pretty gruesome, but that sword fight is brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm pissing you off as we're going on here, Dave.
like I say, I'm really fucking offended by how bad Tommy Lee Jones is. I mean, you know what? I used to think, Chris, that no one can ham it up like David Hasselhoff. But having seen Tommy Lee Jones, I'm kind of questioning that now. I mean, he's at least 2 Hasselhoffs, I reckon, in this
That's
movie.
awful. Yeah, easy. He's awful, Dave. The whole Easy Rider rock band leather jacket look, it doesn't, he's like a Hell's Angel or whatever he's supposed to be, but it's
I
just
think he's supposed to be
weird.
like Bill Wyman, where he's got the fucking map of London on his face, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Trying to pull off an old
yeah.
rocker.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's not the best, Dave. And obviously, as we come to the end, Seagal gets saved, Dave, doesn't he, by Jordan. She then pulls out this magical shot and kills. She kills what's his name, doesn't she? Not Gary Busey. She doesn't kill Tommy Lee Jones. She kills one of the guys. Oh, it's what's he called? He comes after him. It's one of the guys he comes after, and she kills him, doesn't she? And
no idea.
yeah, anyway, it wasn't that memorable. She does take the shot, Dave, and then we do get the fight, and then we get the whole end bit where they save everything. Tommy Lee Jones is dead. They divert them from hitting Pearl Harbor, don't they? The missile and everything, and everyone goes off, and the captain or the general, whoever he is, who dies at the start, he gets his send off, and Seagal's there with all the boys. But then I tell you what's creepy, Dave, knowing all the shit that we've listened to and read about him recently,
Yeah.
it's the way he grabs Erica Lanette for a kiss and he goes, "Yeah, watch this." And he's like, "Oh my God." I bet he made her do that scene about fucking 100 times to get it right.
And it just came from nowhere as well, didn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
again, it's just fucking ridiculous. It's even more ridiculous that these two have any chemistry or there's a love interest there than it is that she's running around playing at being a Navy SEAL. It's just fucking nonsense, that end bit. But Chris, should we get into our final review?
Thank fuck yes.
Now, Chris, I have to say, I had, I wouldn't say fond memories, but I remember, broadly liking this movie when I first watched it. And in my hazy memory, I thought, yeah, this one isn't too bad. But I wasn't that confident that I would actually watch it again and still think the same thing. Now, on balance, I don't think it's terrible. I think they're quite clever that they don't use Seagal that much. There's quite a lot of screen time that just doesn't have any Seagal in it at all. There's quite a bit of Gary Busey, there's quite a bit of Tommy Lee Jones, and the other things that are going on with the military and what have you. So I think that's quite a clever thing, and I think the film is better for it. The worst thing about the film, though, are the villains. I mean, Gary Busey. Okay, I could kind of. He's kind of a good right hand man, isn't he? He's a good henchman. So I'll kind of
Yeah.
forgive him, I think, for basically playing himself. But Tommy Lee Jones is just fucking horrendous and, offensively bad in this movie. And I just can't forgive him for that. But, some of the special effects were pretty good. That was all right. Music's kind of okay. So I'm going to put this right in the middle. And I think I think my expectations that this was going to be pretty fucking terrible and a bit of a Seagal classic, I think probably helped it, because my expectations were pretty low. So I think it exceeded my expectations in that way. I didn't, fucking Tommy Lee Jones exceeded my expectations of how bad someone can be as a main villain outside a Batman movie. But yeah, so I'm going to put it right in the middle. I'm going to put it in Hill Valley. What about yourself, Chris?
It's funny, Dave, because we've absolutely ripped Tommy Lee Jones to shreds, and there's not many people can make Steven Seagal look good, and he does. And I agree. I actually thought that I'd come out of watching this, knowing Gary Busey, I love him as Mr. Joshua in Lethal Weapon. He's great, and knowing you've got Tommy Lee Jones, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm not a big fan. I think he's pretty crap, but he has of pedigree. He's done some amazing. I mean, Dave, he was in Winter Soldier, wasn't he, as well? I think he's in Captain America, so he's been in all sorts of stuff over the years. He's a bit of an acting royalty. I don't rate him. I think he's fucking terrible, like I said at the start. But I did think they're going to really shine through as bad guys, and Seagal's going to be terrible. But no, it's the other way around. We've both said it. Tommy Lee Jones is fucking rubbish. I mean, Gary Busey hasn't got much of an acting range, but Tommy Lee Jones makes him look like fucking Charlton Heston or something. He's absolutely terrible. It's proper school playground or school play acting. It's like you've gone to some fucking pantomime, some real behind the curtain baddie. You're just waiting for him to twiddle his moustache or something like fucking Dick Dastardly and all that stuff. It's terrible. I just think he's awful. So yeah, Seagal's not great. He does his old Don Corleone stuff. I'm not comfortable with the Eric Eleniak stuff because I just think there's no, like you said, there's no chemistry there. It's absolutely the worst casting we've seen for a long time. However, I do think it's one of his better films, and I could probably watch this again, Dave. It's on TV. I'm never going to seek it out ever again to watch it. But if it's on TV and I catch it or miss the first 10, 15 minutes, there's fuck all else on, I'd probably watch it for what it is and try and watch it as just not in with my reviewing eyes, because I know sometimes when you review things, you watch it slightly differently, don't you? And obviously we come in here and take the piss, so there is daft things you're looking at. But I will say the fucking knife fight is the worst fight I've ever seen with swords or knives or anything. It's absolutely atrocious. So I'm not going to put it in the middle, Dave, but I'm going to send another one to Elm Street. It's certainly not the worst thing I've ever seen. And I've got a few things up my sleeve in the next few weeks, David, that are probably going to be the worst things we've ever seen. So this isn't, and it's worth a watch. And anybody who likes it, if you like it, you like it. I think it's just going to divide people, Dave. I just think it's there. It's just a die-hard rip-off, and I don't think it's as good, but it is watchable. So yeah, it's not a bad one this week, Dave.
Yeah. I think, I've put it in Hill Valley there, but I was umming and ahhing about Elm Street as well. I think it's on the bottom end of Hill Valley, isn't it? So I don't think we're
Yeah,
too far away on that one.
good stuff. Now, Dave, what have we got for next week's offering, my friend?
Now we have a movie, Chris, that I knew that we talked about right before this show, and I've sort of forgotten. So let me bring up my calendar. Chris, it's a classic. Right. So let me just say first, before I go into what we're going to do next week. So we want to thank our executive producers over at Patreon. We want to thank John Hammond, even though, sorry, John, we've rinsed your film, and I know you love a bit of Seagal. We've got Tony Farina, we've got Brent from Cinema Chat Podcast, and we've got John and Jeff over at the Predator Minute as well. And Chris, that is a nice segue into what we're going to review next. Because, Chris, we are going to review with John and Jeff Ninja 3, The Domination. Now, did you see any of this?
Never even heard of it. So no.
I've watched the trailer before, and guys, I think you're going to be in for a treat.
He is the most feared and powerful warrior. A ninja who breaks from ancient tradition and explodes onto America. His soul possesses the body of an innocent woman and transforms her into a lethal assassin. Who are you? I want to help her. Only a ninja can destroy a ninja. Her only hope is Yamada, the master ninja, who has been sent to destroy him. Where Revenge of the Ninja left off, Ninja 3 begins. An epic struggle of superhuman strength and supernatural forces. Ninja 3, The Domination.
No, Chris, I think that, I know the guys listen to the show, obviously, and like I say, they're supporters, so they'll be producers of next week's show, and I think they've taken the essence of what we try and do when we stitch each other up with a fucking shit martial arts film, and I think they've run with it, and this looks like something else, so I'd never heard of it either, but Jesus Christ. This could be Samurai Cop levels, from what I can see.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave. Yeah.
Now, Chris, we actually have a review across on Apple Podcasts. So this one's in the UK store. It says, a rare uncut gem of a podcast. Love this niche podcast. I was born much later than when many of these films came out and at the tail end of the VHS era. I haven't seen many of the films reviewed, in fact. After seeking out Karate Kid reviews, I stumbled across this absolute gem. The host's chemistry and banter really makes this enjoyable. You can enjoy their commentary and sometimes sidetracked conversations, not more so than today, Chris, whether or not you've seen the films in question. Recommend to all film lovers, especially those of the nostalgic bent. I'm not quite sure I understand that last bit, but okay. Well, what a brilliant fucking review, Chris.
Class, Dave. Class.
Haven't even watched some of these films, but still listen. Fucking love that.
Hey, Dave, that's brilliant. No, thank you so much for that. And if you want to review us and get onto your podcast catching up, drop us a review. And if you want to contact us with any, tidbits you've picked up while listening to us, anything that's made you laugh or anything you disagree with, get over to our social media channels at VHS Strikes Back on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to email us, the VHSstrikesback@gmail.com. And as always, I don't think you said it this week, Dave, because we have had a discussion about how when we're doing all the reader stuff and the social media stuff, we both switch off because the other week you did it all. Yeah, exactly. You did it all. We played the trailer, then I did the same thing and was like, I edited that one. I was like, yeah, Dave said that, but I can't edit it in at all. I can't even take it out. So anyway, if you do want to support the podcast, guys, and we've got some fantastic people, we really appreciate anybody who supports the podcast, whether you're on our Patreon, which is patreon.com/VHS Strikes Back, from £1 all the way up to the McFly, where, you know, we take you to Vegas and everything like that and record a show. Or even if just telling your friends, retweeting anything, we just appreciate any support because we love doing this and we know this is just a passion project, Dave. It's something where we take the piss. But I'll tell you now, Dave, you are my closest friend. I have so much respect for you, my friend. But I've got some shit movies in the next few weeks and I cannot wait to hear the Horrocks go all in on me. I'm telling you, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Oh, we've got the lead up to Christmas as well, haven't we? So we actually did a few Christmas movies last year, didn't we? So we're going to have to see if we can tackle a few more of those maybe. So try and limit your fucking shitness.
You'll try everything you can. You'll be like, oh, I've put all these in the diary. And I'll be like, whoa, it's my pick. Don't you worry.
Oh, dear. Well, Chris, we finally did it. We finally did a Siegal movie. And like I say, we haven't picked a terrible one. I'm pretty sure we could pick a lot more that's worse. But what are you going to finish us off with today?
You fucking done me there, because every time we've not done this for weeks now, Dave. Fucking weeks we've not done this.
Just when you think you're safe.
Yeah, you pull me back in, right? Here we go. And I'm not looking for quotes. All right, here you go, Dave. This is a quote from Tommy Lee Jones, and it perfectly sums up his fucking acting and character in this whole movie. And I'm going to finish on this, Dave. And he simply says, "Don't worry about a thing, baby. You could play this gig with your eyes shut." And that's exactly what he fucking did. So I'll see you next week.
Sounds like Mickey.
You can do it, Rock. You can do it. One more round. Hey, our penguin. Maybe the penguin should be our new impression stage. Let's get the fuck out of here, Dave. Bye.
Bye.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
I'll be back.
That's not.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
Wax on, wax off.
Get to the chopper!
One ring to go. All right. Ding, ding. Bust you up. Go for it.
Well, here we go. Ain't so bad. Ain't so bad. Ain't so bad. Come on, ain't so bad. Ain't nothing. Come on, you must be crazy or something. I'm crazy. You just stupid. Yeah, maybe you crazy. I ain't breathing heavy. He's a fool. Stupid. I've seen you in 6 months.